This is the most expensive roll of film I've ever shot. For one roll of this film, you have to pay around 70 euros or even more. Well, if you get lucky and can get your hands on it in the first place. So, in this video, we are shooting this incredibly pricey film in a priceless location in Japan to find out if it's actually worth the price tag. But in order to answer this, we have to start at the beginning of the story. This roll of film has been living in my fridge for the last 3 years or so, since I wanted to wait for a special opportunity for this special film. So when I went to Japan, I knew that this would finally be the time to shoot it. In case you've been following my Japan series, you might know that we've been in Osaka, Kyoto and Nara already, with more stops ahead of us. But if you haven't watched those videos yet, make sure to check out the Japan playlist on my channel. From Osaka, that has been our last stop, we headed to beautiful Kanazawa in central North Japan. Here I of course took loads of photos, but also enjoyed the beautiful gardens, the Museum of Contemporary Art, interesting food, the historic charm of the different districts reminiscent of the Edo period, but decided to not record a standalone episode here. However, Kanazawa was our starting point for this trip, bringing us to the unique historic village of Shirakawago in the Gifu prefecture. This painterly picturesque town looks like it's straight from a Studio Ghibli movie and has in fact been an inspiration for some popular animes and mangas. It's the location of the trip I was looking forward to the most, which is why I knew that this would be the perfect place to finally shoot my roll of Natura 1600. Not gonna lie, I was sitting on this roll of film for quite a long time because this is in fact a very special film. This is Fuji Natura 1600, which is the fastest color ISO film that you can find to this day, which is very famous for its beautiful tones and low grain besides the fast ISO. However, sadly, this roll of film, or this film in general, was discontinued in 2017, which means that it's pretty hard to find, and if you can find it, it's also rather expensive. It's pretty common that you have to pay over $100 for one roll of film, so naturally, naturally, I wanted to shoot it with something special. And look around, I guess we found it. And yeah, I guess today is the day, because today we are in Shirakawa-go. And Shirakawa-go is a very picturesque, beautiful mountain town, and it's known for its thatched roofs, and it's also a Unesco World Heritage Site. And by the way, coming here wasn't as easy. We stayed in Kanazawa for the last days, and there are multiple buses running to Shirakawa-go each day. However, the tickets seem to be sold out pretty fast, so even though we were very flexible with our schedule, we couldn't find any bus tickets. So I'm very happy that we found bus tickets last minute for this day, but that also meant that we couldn't be picky about the weather and all that. So today, as you can see, it's a bit overcast and also drizzling with rain, but that won't stop us from taking good photos, and I heard that Natura doesn't like contrasty scenes anyway, so I hope that having a big cloudy softbox over this town might actually help. So without any further ado, let's shoot. Little did I know that the weather would change soon, actually ruining my plans I had for this roll of film. All things considered, the day didn't work out as planned, but more on that later. First shot down, and every shot is like 5 euros or so, so it hurts a little bit.
Nicht ganz, oder?
3, ne?
2,80 Euro. 2 Euro.
Ja,
Guck.
2,70 Euro. Ching!
Ching, ching.
As I said before, the buses weren't running frequently, therefore our time here was pretty limited. We took the bus from Kanazawa at 8:40 and arrived in Shirakawa-go shortly after 10 in the morning. Our bus back to Kanazawa would come at 3:10 p.m, which in Japan means that it will leave at that exact time, so you have to be at the station a bit in advance. Therefore, we had less than 5 hours to explore the town, have lunch and check out all the stops and hikes I had planned out. For a photographer like me, who likes to take their time, it means that it would certainly be a tight schedule. So to be honest, I have no idea how to expose this film. Some people say that it handles overexposure pretty well. I've seen results where people shot it at 100 ISO and it looked really perfect. Some other people say that it doesn't have such a high latitude and that it's recommended to rather shoot it like a slide film, so to be very precise with the measurement and not overexposed by too much. So I don't really know what to do. Also, this film was expired in 2019, so maybe it's good to compensate for the age at least a little bit. And I know that a lot of people just shoot it at 800 ISO by default, so I thought I will try something in the middle. So I guess I'll go with 640 and see how this works out. And by the way, my better half is shooting film as well with my Olympus AF10 Super, and we thought that shooting black and white here might be a little bit underrated, so I will be shooting color, she will be shooting black and white, so we hope that we will get best of both worlds. Can you load in your film, or shall I help you?
Try. Kann ich das ziehen?
Ja, muss ein bisschen ziehen.
Einfach zu.
Gut. Ready? Full on film photographer mode.
Yes. Laufen lassen.
After the first shots, what are your first impressions of Natura 1600? Do you think the film holds up to its legacy and justifies the high price for it? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and of course I will share mine as we go. For the start, we decided to go on a hike to get a view of the village from above, from the Shirayama observation desk. The village of Ogemachi we visited is actually the biggest village in Shirakawa-go, and I personally found it pretty impressive to see from above, which doesn't really transport fully in the photos and video footage. This was also the perfect destination for our kombini lunch break, containing onigiris and melon puns, the things I could literally eat every day while being in Japan. That's what I call a lunch break with a view.
Now I'm using this one to vlog because Karin is very busy with her other camera.
And while fueling up, unexpectedly the clouds dissolved and the sun came out. While most people are incredibly happy over a sunny day, I was probably the one person in the village that day who was disappointed by the sun coming out. Don't get me wrong, I was certainly glad that it didn't rain and I didn't have to use the rainproof stuff I brought, but I thought that an overcast day might actually be perfect for this film in order to tickle out some of its low-light capabilities. The bright sun also forced me to use settings that are not exactly ideal. I shot it at 1/1000 shutter speed and f11 for most of the shots, which didn't give me much room to experiment. With a box speed of 1600, one might think why I decided to shoot this film at daytime when this would be the ideal film for low-light situations. Obviously, the conditions changed, so instead of an overcast day, it suddenly turned into a sunny day, which I didn't account for. But there were also two more reasons for me to shoot this film in daytime and not in the evening or night. Firstly, high ISO films lose their sensitivity way faster when being expired, so that I could assume that the real sensitivity might not be enough for some of these more extreme lighting conditions. And for the other, I thought that daytime would be good to get a baseline of the look of the film and be able to compare it to films like Kodak Gold or Portra 400 I usually shoot in comparable conditions. So, I've only shot 25 shots so far, so still 10 more to go. And there's this place with 3 houses right next to each other, a bit outside of the city, that I really wanted to see. So we're heading there, and then slowly our time here already comes to an end. Wow! That's beautiful. Wait. But what are my thoughts about Fuji Natura 1600 now? To be completely honest with you, when I first scanned in this roll, I was almost a little bit disappointed. The qualities of this film didn't particularly stand out to me, and I thought that the overall look seemed a bit bland. However, I think the results just had to grow on me, and I needed some more time and some closer looks to actually appreciate it. The colors, in my opinion, are very pleasing in fact. They are soft, rather low in contrast, and pastel-y by nature, with a typical Fujifilm preference for greens and blues. The grain is what makes this film special though. For an ISO 1600 film, the grain is rather fine. It's noticeable, especially in the darker areas, but compared to something like Kodak Gold, the grain seems smaller and still keeps up finer details. By looking at the grain, I would almost speculate that shooting it at ISO 640 was maybe still not sufficient, and a bit more light might have been good. So I think exposing it 2 stops over box speed, shooting it at ISO 400 would have worked out in its favor. The real question is though, is this film worth getting for 70 euros or more? In all honesty, my answer is no. It's an iconic film, and it almost feels like shooting a piece of film photography history which will not be possible forever once the last old stocks are gone. But the first results from this roll didn't convince me enough to justify the price. It's a pleasing look with an interesting grain, but it didn't stand out enough for me. But maybe shooting it in regular daytime conditions didn't do the film justice, and it would be worth trying it out in the evening or night instead to see if this is where it can shine. As much as the images have grown on me, I have to say that the black and white images were the real star of the episode for me. The roll of Natura 1600 wasn't the only roll I shot here, since I couldn't resist to shoot some XP2 myself as well. My favorite part of this day trip was to enter one of the traditional Gasso-tsukuri houses, which are characteristic for the thatched steep triangular roofs. What's special about this type of architecture is that the houses were fully built from natural materials. No nails and no other metal parts were used in this construction. The shape of the roofs also helps to withstand intense snowfall, which is important since high snow is common in winter in this region. There are 3 of these houses open for visitors in Ogimachi: the Wada, the Kanda and the Nagasa house. We decided to visit the Wada house, which is also the largest of the 3. Photographing the interior wasn't easy since it was rather dark inside, so I didn't take many photos in the end. However, by accident I took one of my favorite photos of the day here, of the common area on the ground floor, since this TV caught my eye. It's simple but super moody in my opinion, and I love the clash of traditional architecture, tatami floors and historical pictures contrasted by the TV as the one visible modern element in the frame. This roll of Natura 1600 was gifted to me by Vin some years ago. Big thank you again, by the way, and I'm super grateful that I had the chance to shoot such a special film in such a special location. I can consider myself incredibly lucky since I got 2 more rolls of this film from a viewer some while ago, which I've kept sacred ever since. Now that I got my first experience with this film, I think I got a good baseline of its qualities and understood its characteristics a bit better. For my 2 remaining rolls, I still feel like looking out for a different yet likely special situation. So please let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions how I should use my last remaining rolls. Maybe indeed some more low light conditions next? What do you think? In any way, thank you so much for watching and joining me on this fun day. Make sure to stick around the channel if you don't want to miss anything, since Tokyo is the next stop on the Japan journey. And that being said, I would say, see you in the next episode.